Good morning. I'm Christopher Sayre, filling in for Harley Schlanger on August 16th, 2024. And I'm sitting outside with my friend Franklin Delano Roosevelt because he represents a time in American history where we fought the Nazis. We fought against fascism. Unfortunately, it's quite the opposite today, but we intend to change that, of course. I want to give you a picture from the front, if you will, the battle in the United States. I can remember as a boy of 17 waking up to the sound of helicopters overhead in the little town of Leesburg, Virginia, where our offices were being raided by U.S. Marshals, by the FBI, in an attempt to shut down our LaRouche movement and assassinate Lyndon LaRouche. Fast forward to where we are today in the United States. Now, we fought back successfully against that. But this treasonous apparatus, the treason of Robert Mueller, the treason of Christopher Wray, this continues up to the present day. And we have a courageous individual, Scott Ritter, who has come under similar attack simply for advocating for a peaceful solution and a return to the peaceful concept of the American Republic. Now, that's what we represent at the LaRouche movement. The United States should return to a peaceful outlook of cooperation with other nations and economic development in our nation, spreading out around the globe. That was the original intent of our founding fathers. That was what John Quincy Adams articulated. That's what Abraham Lincoln represented. That's what FDR represented. What happened to Scott Ritter is an absolute disgrace. From the time that his passport was seized from him while he was on his way to a peace mission to Russia, to the invasion of his house by up to 40 FBI agents, seizing all kinds of things that they had no permission to seize, including the 80,000 pages of his documentation that there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, for example, from 20 years ago. And then the swatting of his house the next day in a clear attempt to assassinate him, just as they attempted to assassinate LaRouche in 1986. Scott has tremendous courage. We must have tremendous courage. And there is an active attack right now against our constitutional rights, against our First Amendment rights, the rights to say and think what we want as Americans, the rights of the press, of a free press, the rights of Scott Ritter to be a journalist and say what he thinks and report on the truth. And yet he's being attacked as a disinformation purveyor. Now, the people that are pushing the real disinformation are the New York Times and their milieu, who are suggesting that somehow we could push the world to the brink of a nuclear war and everything would be fine. In fact, we might even be able to win a nuclear war, according to these lunatics. I want to give you a report from a couple of days of organizing, because I can tell you that apart from the folks out in the Hamptons who dutifully read the New York Times every morning to find out what their marching orders are, what they're allowed to say and think by the establishment, what they're allowed to be overheard saying to their other New York Times reader neighbors on vacation out in the Hamptons, that in the real world, in other parts of the country, in other parts of New York, there are blue-collar people who do not want war with Russia, who do not want war at all, who agree that we should retool our military-industrial complex to build parts for power plants, for high-speed rail, for water projects, to restore the United States to greatness by building the infrastructure and the agro-industrial scientific capabilities that once marked our nation. And that's what the LaRouche movement represents. That's what we intend to restore as patriots of this nation, and also concerned citizens for the well-being of the world. That's what it means to be an American. And patriots like Scott Ritter and others who are unflinching must be the guidelines for every American citizen. We too must be unflinching in this onslaught to spread terror and fear. We cannot become fearful. We must have freedom from fear, as FDR said.